Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by Will Kaplan and Steve Drost, both, of course, from the Quivr team. What is Quivr? We are the CRM built by financial advisors for financial advisors, and our objective is simple. We want to help you run your business at peak efficiency. Now, each episode, we tackle a couple of cool items that came directly from our users who are simply trying to do just that, make their lives a little bit easier. Will, you threw a term out in Office Hours this week that I did not understand and I've never heard before. And I'm not going to lie, I still don't really understand it, but you call it process compliance. Go.
Yeah, we're also trained as soon as we hear compliance that we panic a little bit. But really what this is I have a process or I have a procedure and I want to make sure I follow it each time. And this goes back like probably maybe 6, maybe 10 years ago when someone first told me go read the what is it called? The checklist manifesto, and really understand like where these ideas came from. Like, when you get on an airplane, the pilot isn't just like sitting down and turning the key over and being like, hey, let's head to Minneapolis. There's a bigger process involved there, and there's a massive checklist that they have to go through every single time. Did somebody put fuel in the plane? Are the wings attached? Like, it's little things that we all think of course they understand this, but then like you get these tales of I went and I had surgery on my leg and they operated on the wrong knee. Like, there's stuff like that happens, and it's because this process compliance breaks down. I've defined what I want to do. I try and do it the same every time, and for some reason something along the way disrupts that. And so it's this idea that you just want to follow kind of this exact same procedure every single time. And we were in this comes up in Office Hours, this comes up in tickets, this comes up, you and I were in a demo, and one of the things that we were talking about was like, okay, so you've got all of these advisors. It was a larger firm and they're all kind of doing their own thing. It's a little bit of the Wild West, but you need that, like, we all kind of want to be doing the same thing for our clients. We want to make sure that at the end of the day, the client is receiving roughly the same type of experience, whether they're working with Will or whether they're working with Steve or whether they're working with Ashley. To me, that's process compliance. That's this idea of like, I just want to stamp widgets and they all need to come out like Legos. They all need to be perfect, right? And so like, how do you do that? How does that work? Where does it come from? And in my mind, it comes from this idea of like, I need to be able to kind of pull out the important parts and turn that into something like a workflow. I don't know how you do that for Drost Financial. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a pretty good understanding of how you do that for Drost Financial, but like this idea that, I can push a button and then say, I want this thing to kick off. And then for it to guide me through, okay, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? So I don't know if there's like an easy one that comes to mind for you where
I get it now. I think I get it. And once you brought up that demo, now it's coming. Now it's clicking for me. I get that now. And when you mentioned surgery, that makes sense too. So for example, with Drost Financial, I'm the only advisor. I'm, quote unquote, one team. So every time, you're right, every time we open an account, it is being done the exact same. We're not taking on new clients, but if we were, right, we're doing it the exact same way every time, because the only preferences that we need to satisfy our mind. But when we talk about that bigger firm, they had dozens of advisors. Now, yes, they need to accomplish the same big things, but you also need to be nimble enough to account for preferences. So when you said surgery, that made me think of a couple of years ago, I tore my Achilles. And I remember you told me I had to sign my left foot because I tore my left Achilles, and the anesthesiologist had to sign my left foot. The surgeon signed my left foot. Everybody, it was like the last year of school in high school. Like everybody is signing my foot. It's not my yearbook. But right. So that is something that has to happen, right? That is making sure the wings are attached. But no surgeon would have operated on my foot the exact same way. The incision would be maybe a centimeter bigger or a centimeter smaller. The way that the Achilles, they're just essentially sewing the top half and the bottom half back together. That'll be done slightly different. The nurse practitioner that stitched me up afterwards, yes, you need to stitch me up. That's making sure the wings are there, but they might have us, I don't know anything about stitches, but maybe they use one method instead of another method. It might be slightly different. So what I got from that was you need to make sure that the big things are done. And I would say maybe signing my left foot is making sure we have an IPS. And making sure that we cut the right foot is making sure that we're meeting suitability and what's suitability and what's the other word? Your fiduciary standard, right? Making sure your reviews and like the things you have to have happen. But if an advisor wants to have a 4 prospect meeting process instead of a 2 prospect meeting process, who cares? Stay nimble and just tweak your process. Is that fair? Am I hearing this right?
No, you're right. I mean, it's the combination of those two things. And I think that's what, a lot of times we have these conversations about so many of these advisors are doing kind of the same things or, they're ending up in the same place, but how they get there is very different. I mean, the one that always comes to mind for me is like there is a unifying and at the same time, like completely unique individualistic, which is the most advisors charge roughly the same amount of money. And the way that they get to that figure is like everybody has their own. Like there might not be, I don't know if anybody actually even uses the same 2 fee calculations, but they end up usually in the same place. And it's kind of the same thing of like, okay, I know that we need to do, Steve's left foot. The anesthesiologist knows we need to do Steve's left foot. Are there going to be differences along the way? Yeah, absolutely. But we want to make sure that we're not like the outcome that we're hoping for, which is like, we fix Steve's Achilles. Like that's really the outcome that we want. It's the same for our clients. Like we want them to be successful. We want them to have good outcomes. How we get there might be a little bit different, but there are some milestones. You mentioned a few that are important to make sure that we're capturing along the way and documenting along the way. And so that's one of the things that I find workflow is just so powerful for is, not only do I have this idea of like, from a true compliance perspective, I know this happened. It happened on this date and it was done by this person, but also just internally so that we know our clients are having the same experience, and especially in a larger firm, because, we met with another prospective user recently who basically said like, I'm about to hire. All of my procedures are in my head because I'm the only one that has to do it. Now that's about to change. I'm about to have like 3 people all trying to get to the same place, but how are they going to know what they're supposed to do? And I was like, yeah, it's a workflow. It's documenting those steps. How do we do this? What are the milestones? Where are the pause points? And then how do we all get there together? And that to me is process compliance. You're following a recipe for success.
No, I love it. No, that's good stuff. We'll call that a wrap for today. If you're a Quivr user, remember to join us on Wednesdays for office hours where we can help you with similar items. And maybe this is kind of the plug for yes. A lot of times at office hours, we're discussing, a very specific technical component within Quivr and a desired outcome, right? This report, that. But a lot of our conversations are also philosophical, like this. I need to get adoption of this. I need to make sure that this happens. And we can start talking about, again, more philosophical items as well. So again, if you're a Quivr user, get to office hours. We love to have these kinds of conversations. And if you're not a Quivr user, that's okay. Everybody makes mistakes and nobody's perfect, but it's not too late. Come schedule a demo, hang out with me and Will for a bit, and see Quivr in action for yourself.